It's your life coach, your realtor, your author, and yes, your nurse, Leslie. I wanted to check in and wish everyone a happy New Year's Eve, but also to share with you something that's been on my mind. So I was watching, and this talk is for the men and the women. It deals with relationships. I was watching a gentleman who had a really interesting panel on YouTube, and he was talking to his brothers, to gentlemen about things that they value in a woman. Okay, these are single young Christian men. And what I thought was really interesting was that the more that I learn about fair and reasonable expectations of a man, the more I like to share and the more questions I have. So they were talking about how a lot of people say that just because he's a Christian man, the man should only be looking for a woman who's spiritual. And to me, that it just seems so silly because, and I agreed with what they were saying, because men have eyes, they're visual. So that's not a sin that they're visual. That's how God made them, right? So if he made men visual, and men are more prone to pursue women who are visually pleasing, then instead of jumping on the defensive and saying, well, that they're shallow and they only care about, that 3-letter word, maybe what we should do is see what we can do that is reasonable, okay, and sensible to make ourselves visually pleasing. Even for the women who are married, are there things that you can do? And I'm not talking about necessarily going under the knife or anything, but things that you can do that that your husband has told you he likes. Maybe he likes your hair a certain color, but you don't want to dye your hair. So maybe, maybe you can put in some tracks or, do something temporary to have a different hair color. Things like that, So I began to think about that, and I said to myself, well, if it has to do with the dress, do men then think, okay, if this person is very conservative, if there's a woman who's very conservative, like for instance, I'm very conservative with my dress. It doesn't mean that I dress like a nun. Like, I'm young, so I like to look good, but there are certain boundaries I don't cross in public. Okay, like if I'm not on a beach somewhere on vacation, there's just certain things you're not going to see me wearing outside in the street. And everybody's different. They have their own opinions about that. That's a whole other topic. But back to my question. If they see that I am consistently conservative with my dress, do they automatically think that I'm boring? And the reason that I ask this is because I know that for myself, I'm not one who just changes everything about myself just to please somebody. I'm not like that. Like, I know who I am, and I'm comfortable with who I am, and I'm self-aware, meaning I know that there's always room for improvement, but I'm not going to change my entire self just to have a nod from someone else. So I wanted to know for myself, is it something that is built in, where if a man sees that you are consistently conservative in your dress, that you must be boring, or that or that they wouldn't even bother trying to get to know you because they automatically know that you're boring? Okay, so meaning if they decided to pursue and marry you, that they feel as though their life would be boring. Okay, so for adults, I think you know what I'm saying, right? So and then if there are gentlemen who feel that way, what I would encourage you to do is, if there is someone if there's a woman that you're interested in and she fits that description, get to know her first, because you don't really know a person just based on that, right? It's just that, like my upbringing, I was brought up old school, and so there are just certain things I'm not going to wear in public. My skirt's only going to be but so short, and I try to raise my daughters that way, because I try not to do things that my daughters will see and then want to emulate. If I know if it's not something I want to see them doing, then I'm likely not to wear it outside. All right, so yeah, that's a question for the gentlemen. And also, ladies, let me know what you think about this, as far as things you may have heard about how men perceive the conservative woman, or how you have been perceived, even if maybe you wouldn't consider yourself conservative in dress, but what have they told you about the way that they perceive your personality based on your dress? So anyway, I hope that y'all are making the most of this moment. I hope that you all are remembering that you are special, that you are chosen, that you are precious, and you're here for a reason. Love and blessings to y'all. Talk to y'all later.